Today, you can find glory in sewing your own belt loops. There's many ways this can be done. This is just one method, and it doesn't require hand sewing. It doesn't require a serger. As long as you can do a straight stitch, or even better, a narrow zigzag stitch, you'll be golden. Belt loops are such a simple design, yet they're so important for keeping your pants up. So let us dive into this tutorial, how to sew belt loops for beginners. This is going to create belt loops that are 2 3/4 inches tall and 1/2 inch wide. It's a pretty common size for pants, but I've seen bigger and smaller depending on what you're making. If you're looking to create your own custom sized belt loops, or you just want the written instructions for this same tutorial, there's a free PDF that covers all that in the description below. To start off, you're going to grab fabric. It's going to be 18.5 inches by 2 1/8. So with your fabric, a ruler, and tailor chalk, try to draw that pattern and make sure your corners are 90 degrees. If you're using fabric with a print on it or a very visible weave, then just make sure the orientation of the belt loops matches that of the pants. Once that's complete, cut out the fabric. I'm going to use these rotary cutters, but you can also use shears or fabric scissors. When you're done that, fold the wrong sides together along the long edge. I'm using polycotton twill, so you can see with most twill fabrics, one side is a little bit more rough. It still has the diagonal weaves, but it's not as maybe shiny or as clean as the right side. This would be the right side. The lines are a little bit more defined, and that's how you know the right and wrong side. So like I said earlier, we're going to match the long edges, and it's going to be wrong sides together. We're basically folding the strip in half lengthwise, and then we're going to take a hot iron and press it down. Now that we have this nice clean fold in the middle, we're going to bring the raw edges to meet in the middle at that crease, and we're going to use the iron and iron them both down. The raw edges have now been brought into the middle and ironed down. We're going to fold this one more time to hide those raw edges, and now we have basically the width of our belt loops. We're going to fold it, we're going to iron it down. The crease from the first iron that we did is still there, but we're just going to seal it in one more time with a final press. To lock this in, we're going to stitch the edges. So put the belt loop aside and pull out your sewing machine. For this one, I'm going to set this setting of the tension to 4. I'm going to have the length at 2.5, and it's going to be a straight stitch, so you can keep the width at 0. I'm also going to change the presser foot to my zipper foot, because I like to match the left edge of my zipper foot with the left edge of where I'm sewing. Stitch all the way from the top to the bottom on one side, and then do the folded side as well, just to lock it in at both edges. And you don't have to worry about a back stitch here, because we're going to end up cutting this into 5 separate pieces anyways. Friendly reminder, don't forget to do a bobbin check, or you'll end up like me and lose all your thread halfway through a stitch and have to reset it and then do it again. We now have the belt loop all locked in. We're going to cut it into 5 equal pieces. So grab your tailor's chalk, grab your transparent ruler, and we're going to mark 3.5 inches along the belt. Make sure you have 5 equal sized pieces and use fabric scissors or shears to cut it. You'll end up with a little bit of extra buffer at the end, that's just in case, but you could toss that to the side. And now with each belt loop, we're going to fold both ends at 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter. We're going to use chalk to mark that, and then we're going to use our iron and fold them down. It's a very small area to iron, so it's very easy to get your fingers burnt. So use your fingers and try to push down as much as you can to start the fold. And then with a hot iron, press it down for a lasting fold. And we're going to do this for all 5 belt loops, and we're going to press each end. Now we have the belt loops made. Let's attach it to some pants. If the belt loops are long enough and you're constructing your pants from scratch, sometimes you might connect the belt loops through the seam of the waistband and the pants. However, for this one, we're just going to attach them from the top. Your pants pattern might have dots or notches where to place the loops, but if there's no marks, you can find a pair of pants in your closet and try to use the same placement as reference. Once you've found where you want to place the belt loops, pin the belt loops to the waistband, and we're going to start sewing from the top. If you have a free arm, open that up, and we're going to line up the edge of our waistband to our sewing needle. I switched out to a normal press foot because I want a little bit more stability, and I'm starting the stitch in the middle of the belt loop, not the edges, because when you're sewing through so many fabrics like this and there's some edges, it's very likely it might slip out. So starting in the middle will help get you a good solid few stitches at the start. With this many layers, it might be difficult for your sewing needle to get through it all, so you might have to use the hand wheel. Just make sure to turn it towards you, not away from you. Always turn it towards you to help guide the needle down, and you don't want anything forceful. You want to jig it so that it goes through as smooth as possible. And as we're going to stitch forward and backwards a few times. We're not going to the edge. We're stopping at about 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the belt loop, and we're going to seal it in place with, I would say, 4 to 5 stitches back and forth. Once that's complete, we're going to do the same 5 to 6 stitches starting in the middle, about 1/8 from the edge on each side. We're going to do that for the bottom of the belt loop, and that'll hold in the belt loop completely. Now, technically we're done, but if your machine has the ability to do a zigzag stitch, now's a good time to use that narrow zigzag stitch. Basically, we're going to go over the straight stitch that we just did. It's going to help give it that extra reinforcement. We're going to have the tension at 4, the width at 2.5, and the length at 0.5. This is going to give us a nice narrow stitch. And just a word of caution, applies more to this zigzag stitch, but on a home machine, you have these small feed dogs that pull many layers through, and it might not always be smooth. So use your hands to help guide the fabric. You don't want to forcefully pull it. You just want to pull the fabric to help assist the machine feed the fabric. These are all the steps on how to sew belt loops. I got more sewing tutorials made specifically for beginners. If you want to learn how to sew your own clothes, stay tuned, and until next time, peace.